Hey guys, and welcome to the Movie-Club Emporium, and we are in our final week of Neo-Noir November. First of all, a special thank you to everyone who joined us over at our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Movie-Club Emporium. We had a blast talking about Jeff Daniels movies, and if you were there, if you haven't seen it yet, go over to Twitch and watch it. It's still there. You can watch me talk about a movie that utterly has terrified me my entire life that I had to rewatch for that live stream, and that's Arachnophobia. So join us for that. Thank you for joining us for this whole month as we've been talking about neo-noirs. This is my favorite month of the year, and not just because of today's video, because I love David Lynch films, and I cannot say that my dear beleaguered wife does at all. But I don't force David Lynch at her, but I feel like once a year, for one movie a year, I have to make her watch one. And so last year, which you can check out over at our archive at facebook.com/movie.club.emporium. I don't promote that nearly enough. There's 13 years worth of videos over there. We discussed Mulholland Drive, which, if you're new here, and I mean you all are because I've never mentioned it here on this platform, Mulholland Drive is my favorite movie of all time. So we did that last year, so I thought, what better way? Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and let's do Lost Highway. Now, this is a Lynch film. It is open to interpretation, the most open to interpretation film filmmaker that you can possibly know. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on this movie, and I'm going to give you how I interpret this movie, but know that I could be way off, I could be completely wrong, and probably am. In fact, there's a lot on this whole platform about the true meaning behind so-and-so and so-and-so on this Lynch film or television series, and frankly, I don't think that's true. So with that being said, as I give you my interpretation of this film, know that it is my interpretation. And I even said so after we watched it, that to me is my favorite, one of my favorite parts of Lynch films is the way Lynch makes movies is I watch it and I interpret it my way to make sense for me. And that makes it personal. Whereas you may interpret it a different way, and that's personal to you. And so it allows for some great conversations to happen. And that's the best part about talking about movies. That's why we do it. That's why we've been doing it for so long. And so let's jump into my thoughts and my interpretation of Lost Highway. Starting with our quote from the end of last week's video, Dick Laurent is dead. That's how this movie opens up. Written and directed by David Lynch, co-written by Bill Gifford, who wrote the novel of Wild at Heart, which Lynch also turned into a film. Excuse me. This is from 1997 and stars Bill Pullman, Patricia Arquette. Wrong Arquette. Sorry, not the one from the Toto song. The one from Dream Warriors. She had a whole other song about her. Different band. Robert Blake in his final film. And it's kind of... history is kind of funny. With that, Balthazar Getty and Robert Loggia. I really did have a frog in my throat. I wasn't doing a terrible Robert Loggia impression, I promise. This movie has a lot of things going on. Number one, this is David Lynch's really weird industrial emo phase from the 90s. Because the music is done by Marco Beltrami. By like most of his movies. But all these needle drops he uses. Number one, it's the movie opens with this David Bowie song, which it was like David Bowie's late 90s dark phase with like Afraid of America came out. You have that. You have Marilyn Manson. Trent Reznor is credited as doing ambient noises for the soundtrack of this film. You have This Mortal Coil needle drop, as well as a lot, and I mean a lot, of Rammstein. So David Lynch was just getting it with industrial metal going on in the late 90s. I really so here's how I interpret the movie. Very little of this movie is quote unquote factual movie. There's a scene toward the middle of the film, and then the very end of the film you get a little piece. There's a scene early in the movie where Bill Pullman gives a line he hates video cameras because he wants to remember things the way he remembers them and not necessarily the way they happened. And to me, that opens this whole movie up and kind of explains away some of the weird things that go on in this movie, especially halfway through the movie where we get a character change. So Bill Pullman is a saxophone player who's married to Patricia Arquette, and they're receiving video cassettes in the mail of their home. And it escalates. And then we learn that things aren't necessarily great between the couple. Bill Pullman is a very jealous man. And then all of a sudden, without any warning, he is accused of murdering his wife and sentenced to prison and to the electric chair. So to me, that nugget there is the one piece of the movie that is quote unquote real life, is that he is arrested for the murder of his wife and sentenced to the electric chair. Then in the movie, he changes into the character of Balthazar Getty, who's a different character in a different part of town. And this, to me, is where Lynch is essentially doing his version of the incident at Owl Creek Bridge, which if you know that story, you kind of see where I'm going with this. So because he's no longer Bill Pullman, he's this other man. He's released from prison. He's kind of this kind of aw shucks, young, good guy who's good with women. But then things from the first half of the movie start leaking into this film, or into the second half. Things are happening. And several times throughout the movie, we were introduced to Robert Blake's character, who's just known as Mystery Man. Most people, I think, that watch this movie interpret him as death. I do not. For my take in this movie, Robert Blake's character represents the truth. He is what's really happening. And so this movie is Bill Pullman not only being terrified, but in fact running from the truth, because he is living in his head to avoid what has happened in the real world. Leading up to an ending that, if you take that nugget of truth that we've been giving this movie, the only piece of truth for the first 2 hours of this film is that he's been sentenced to die for the murder of his wife by electric chair. The ending of this movie it ends the way it ends because of that nugget way back when. Again, to me, this is Lynch's incident at Owl Creek Bridge, occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, whatever the actual title of that short story is. But that's what Lynch is doing here. And I won't go into so many of the spoilers. I mean, we've kind of spoiled some things, but this is a really interesting movie. The more times I watch it, I really do enjoy it. Also, you get a surprise, not one, but two surprises. One, you get surprise Gary Busey in this movie, which every time I see this movie, I forget about. The other is surprise Richard Pryor in his final film role. So it's nice to see him pop up. Also, Jack Nance, who is a frequent fixture in Lynch films. Sadly, this was his last on-screen appearance, because this was released posthumously after his death. But yeah, so that, without getting into super spoilery stuff, because this isn't that type of review, to me, if you want to check out Lost Highway, I absolutely think you should. It is not, for me, the best of Lynch, but it's nowhere near the worst. It definitely is the most confusing if you just go into it without some type of view to it. And again, my reviewing of it as being kind of Lynch's version of the occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge may be wrong. maybe completely 180 degrees from what the movie actually is. Or 90 degrees. Whatever, math, you know. But to me, that's how I'm able to watch this movie and kind of make sense of it. And it explains a lot of the stuff that happens in the movie too for me. Otherwise, if you're going in just blind, know that you have a really sexy Bill Pullman, which is weird because people of my age really only know Bill Pullman as the president during Independence Day, or as my wife sternly corrected me, also as the dad from Casper. So seeing him in a movie like this is pretty wild. I want to say Rosanna Arquette. It's not Rosanna. It's Patricia Arquette. She is a complete dynamo in this movie, playing two roles, and she's absolutely gorgeous. Robert Loggia he's Robert Loggia. He's both has some of the funniest lines in the movie. There's a scene where he beats up a maniac driver, which is like moments in movies kind of like Falling Down where you're like, yeah, get it. Maybe that's not the right approach, but kind of how it makes you feel. I don't know what happened to Balthazar Getty. I'd be curious because I mostly only know him from this, and he was in the first episode of Showtime. Speaking of David Bowie's, The Hunger. He's in an episode of that show, which is like super sexy Tales from the Crypt. That's not here or there. Again, I don't think this isn't top 3 Lynch for me, but this isn't bottom Lynch either. I think it's a wild ride. It's definitely a late 90s movie. This may be the most 90s of 90s movies we'll talk about for a good long while. But yeah, I do absolutely recommend it. It's for another reason, again, to have us something to talk about, because if I want you guys to watch it, and if you find things in it that are contrary to mine, put them in the comments below. Let's talk about it, because again, that's what makes Lynch so much fun, is that because of how unexplainable his films are, it allows them to be more personal because of how I interpret it and you interpret it. And that's the best part of film talk, not T-O-K, T-A-L-K. It's the accent. But as always, join us each week, Sundays at 4 p.m., brand new weekly review. But this is the end. This is the end of Neo-Noir November. It's sad to see it go, but you know what that means? We're heading into December, and we gotta talk Christmas movies, right? Right. But I'm one of those guys who is like, we're gonna wait to the last possible second, feasible, within reason, to like get into the Christmas spirit. So with there being 5 weeks, 5 Sundays in this Christmas month, we're going to do a pretty neat transition from Neo-Noir November into our December films. We're talking about a movie that I cannot wait to talk about. And it's Shane Black's The Long Kiss Goodnight. So join us as we begin the holiday season with an absolute blasty blast of a movie. And again, thank you to all of you who joined us on Twitch. Go check it out, twitch.tv/Movie-Club Emporium. Come back here at youtube.com/@Movie-Club Emporium. And again, follow us on TikTok, where we're trying to put some stuff up there, maybe some behind the scenes things. Again, it's if you want to have a good time watching a 38-year-old man learn how you kids use the internet, go over to TikTok and watch the Movie Club Emporium. And until then, when we're talking about The Long Kiss Goodnight, I will see you guys next time. Oh, I almost forgot. I need a quote from a noir to end this episode. I tell you what, to transition into December, why not give a quote from the greatest Christmas noir of all time, right? It's Angels with Dirty Faces. So until next week, Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. Bye.